What if I told you you're not really thinking? You're just reacting instinctively, emotionally, and calling it logic. Carl Jung believed something deeply unsettling. Most people believe they're making conscious decisions, but in truth, they're being puppeteered by their unconscious mind. Think about it. Why did you snap at that comment? Why do certain people trigger you, even if you don't know why? Why do you keep making the same mistakes over and over? We love to believe we're rational beings, but Jung warned, until you face what's hidden deep inside, your insecurities, traumas, shadows, you're not in control. You're on autopilot. And worst of all, you don't even know it. In this video, we'll break down Carl Jung's harshest truth. That self-awareness isn't optional, it's survival. Because if you don't confront your unconscious, it will control your life, and you'll simply call it fate. Let's wake up before it's too late. We like to believe we're in control, that when we make a decision, it's our decision, that we think things through, that we respond with logic, not emotion, that we're rational, conscious, awake. Society reinforces this illusion. Schools reward us for correct answers. Social media tells us we're informed because we've read something. We watch one self-help video and feel like we're evolving. We associate thought with identity. I think, therefore I am. But Carl Jung would say, no, you react, and you mistake that reaction for thinking. We believe we choose our friends, our partners, our political opinions. We believe we're objective. But let's be honest. When was the last time you actually paused to examine your assumptions before you spoke? When was the last time you questioned your own beliefs, not others? The truth is, most of us don't think. We feel then justify, we react then rationalize, and then we wrap it all up in a neat story and call it my decision. We live on autopilot, driven by unconscious patterns, emotional conditioning, and social expectations, all while clinging to the comforting illusion, I am in control. But the more you need to believe that you're in control, the more likely it is you're not. This is the lie we live inside. It keeps us comfortable, but also stuck, because as long as we believe we're already awake, we'll never realize we're actually asleep, and we'll mistake every reflex, every bias, every impulse for truth. But now, let's tear off the mask, because in the next part, we'll confront the terrifying idea that Jung warned us about. You're not the one steering the ship. Something else is. Carl Jung didn't just question modern psychology. He attacked the very foundation of how we think we function. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. You think you're making choices, but what if those choices are just the echoes of old wounds, childhood patterns, buried fears? What if your logic is just your emotional reflex, dressed in smarter language? Jung believed that beneath your conscious mind lies a vast ocean, filled with insecurities you never processed, memories you've buried, desires you're ashamed of, and fears you've never dared to name. This is the unconscious, and it's not silent. It whispers, it nudges, it pulls your strings when you think you're in control. Every time you lash out without knowing why. Every time you sabotage something good. Every time you fall into the same toxic pattern. That's not coincidence. That's your unconscious acting through you. And because it hides in the dark, you don't even realize it's there. Even worse, the smarter you are, the better you are at rationalizing your unconscious behavior. You'll build perfect arguments to defend your reactions, without ever realizing they weren't really yours to begin with. The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents, Jung once said. And many of us are still carrying that burden, decades later, unaware. So here's the harsh truth. You're not thinking, you're reacting. And your unconscious is driving the car. Unless you bring it into the light, you'll keep thinking it's just who you are. There's something inside you that you've never truly met. It follows you everywhere. It listens when you speak. It reacts when you're hurt. It smiles when you lie. Carl Jung called it the shadow. It's everything you don't want to see in yourself. Your rage, your jealousy, your shame, the parts of you you were told to hide, suppress, or deny. You didn't destroy those parts. And in the darkness, they grew stronger. The shadow doesn't scream, it whispers. They don't respect you, strike first. You're not good enough, prove them wrong. Why are they happy? You should be angry. It doesn't need to shout, because you mistake its voice for your own. And the more you deny its existence, the more it controls you. That's the paradox. What you refuse to face ends up ruling your life. This is the invisible enemy. It's not out there. It's not other people. It's not society. It's the unacknowledged version of you. Every time you say, "That's just how I am," it smiles. Every time you avoid uncomfortable feelings, it gets louder. Every time you react without understanding why, it tightens its grip. And here's the terrifying truth. The shadow doesn't want to destroy you. It wants to be seen, because only when you recognize it, only when you turn toward the darkness within, can you begin to integrate and truly become whole. Jung didn't say, "Get rid of your shadow." He said, "Own it, or it will own you." You think you're making choices, but why do you keep ending up in the same toxic relationship? Why do you keep sabotaging good opportunities right when things start going well? Why do you explode over something small and regret it instantly? These aren't random. They're patterns. Patterns written by the parts of you you've never fully met. You say, "I always attract the wrong people." No, your unconscious is seeking out familiar pain because it feels safe. You say, "I just have bad luck." No, your shadow is pulling the strings because it hasn't been acknowledged. This is how the unconscious punishes us, not with monsters or nightmares, but with repetition. You become stuck in loops, emotional, behavioral, even generational. You date people just like the parent you resented. You lash out the way you swore you never would. You chase validation, success, approval, and never feel satisfied. Worse, you might become successful on the outside, but still feel empty because the shadow doesn't care how many followers you have. It only wants one thing, to be seen. Jung called this the return of the repressed. What we refuse to face will keep coming back, in louder, more destructive ways, until we finally listen. Left unchecked, the unconscious won't just ruin your relationships, crush your creativity, and worst of all, make you believe this is who you truly are. But it's not. You're not broken. You're just reacting to wounds that were never healed. And if that scares you, good. Because the moment you recognize it is the moment you can finally choose something different. Waking up isn't a moment. It's a slow, painful process, like turning on the lights in a room you've avoided for years. And the first thing you'll see is dust, chaos, and things you wish weren't there. But here's the truth. You can't change what you won't face. Carl Jung didn't offer feel-good advice. He didn't say, "Think positive." He said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." So how do you begin? You start with brutal honesty. Next time you react emotionally, stop. Ask, what am I really feeling right now? Where have I felt this before? Am I responding to this moment or something buried in my past? Most people never ask those questions. They just react again and again. But if you pause, if you stay present, you'll start to see a pattern. And patterns are proof that the unconscious is at work. Then comes the hardest part, shadow work. Not as a trend, not as a hashtag, but as a commitment to confront your fear, envy, guilt, pride, the parts of you that you hide even from yourself. Write them down, talk to them. Make space for them to exist without shame, because the shadow isn't evil. It's just forgotten. And forgotten things don't disappear, they fester. Integration means accepting that you're both light and dark, that your flaws carry wisdom, and your triggers carry truth. It's not easy, but neither is living on autopilot. You don't have to fix everything today, but you can start by choosing awareness in one reaction, one moment, one breath. That's where thinking begins, and reacting ends. So here's the question. Next time you feel triggered, judged, ignored, or ashamed, will you react like you always do? Or will you pause and listen? Because in that split second between emotion and response, you'll meet the real enemy. And maybe, for the first time, you'll recognize their face. It's not the world. It's not your past. It's not your parents. It's you. And that's not bad news. That's your power. Observe your reactions like a scientist, not a victim. Because only then can you stop being controlled and start becoming conscious. Let the unconscious speak. Before it speaks for you, again,